magnetic and can do different things with. So we can look forward to, I think we can look forward to a future where you can use your imagination on all sorts of building materials, or I think we could have a civilization where we could have, and this here I go off into my dream world, beautiful translucent buildings that are works of art, strong and secure, because we have new materials coming, and because we have a potential abundance of energy. We have a potential abundance of energy to recycle metals. Like right now, of course, recycling is so energy intensive that a lot of recycling just isn't done. The potential for the future is not all gloom. It's not a Blade Runner future. We don't have to go that route. We're going to go through some rough times for a while, and we would be wise to, as you know, be prepared to be ingenious and find ways to get through the times that we're coming into. But in the long run, what we can look forward to is possibilities for a higher civilization. Maybe things will break down so badly that we can just kind of start fresh and shove some of the corruption into the sewer and get on with it. I'm really digressing, sorry. Another possibility, and this has, these people have a abnormal bone discharge plasma type thing. The Koreas up in Canada, and I haven't been in touch with them for a few years. We were at a conference in Europe together. But Dr. Eugene Mallow, before he was killed, had visited them on a number of times, and you know, he told me what he had seen with his own eyes and felt with his own hands, and they really did have something that worked. But again, human factors. They didn't listen to his advice about getting that moving toward commercialization, and I just haven't heard anything from them for a while, quite a while. Another variation, and this is in the academia, the arguments about bubble fusion. It's really quite shameful what they're doing to a scientist who had the courage to step out with that one. It's trying to ruin him. Any of you heard about Jim Griggs and the hydrosonic boiler? It's a form of cavitation technology, and interestingly, a blue light that came out with the exhaust. So that was he's a man who made his living going around and measuring alternative energy technologies, and very careful with his measurements. And when he decided to put the water hammer effect to good use, you know, there's a lot of power there shaking your pipes, and so that should be a way to harness it. And he did a lot of experimenting, and then ended up with this replacement for boilers. Doesn't require any burning anything to cause the heating. And he kept measuring and measuring over and over again, because being a good engineer, he thought he must have made a mistake if there was more power output than input, and but he wasn't. And that's the technology that's actually been sold to some larger industrial processes. And he learned, when he puts out his pamphlets, he learned the hard way. Don't put out a pamphlet saying anything like more energy out than in, because of course the down-to-earth people that do the buying of the equipment are not going to buy that. I met a Russian physicist, Dr. Kanarev, in Europe, and a friend of mine from Finland went to visit him after this conference, and he has a form of advanced water electrolysis that we mentioned in our book. And he's a PhD physicist, easy for me to say physicist, and very careful scientist and has all sorts of books that he's written about the theory of why this could actually put out more energy. I know somebody here has heard about John Hutchison. He's quite a well-known character in the far end of the spectrum. So, yeah, and he built what he calls his crystal converter power cells, and just kind of cobbling together some. Of course, it's not random. He knows what he's doing. You know, all sorts of minerals, Rochelle salts, and gallium arsenide. You probably know what goes into. I can't remember all that he said that goes into his power cells.
John takes a Tesla coil and a Van de Graaff generator, and he creates interference zones, very specific interference zones, and he changes rocks, some people like to call them crystals, so that they become permanent batteries. And these batteries have been sent to places as long as 5 or 6 years ago, like the Max Planck Institute, the Hiroshima Museum, and they test them every day to make sure that they're still giving power, and they are.
Yeah, and it's just milliwatts. Most of these. He did have something more powerful earlier, the one in the black and white that's he's tuning, and he took. I think that's the one that went to Japan, and finally it was tuned so much the material started to break down. But well, even he figures that if you gang these together, then you will have a meaningful amount of power out, and he would like to get something going. But again, human factors don't. The business sense doesn't necessarily go along with the inventive sense, and all sorts of factors like that. But anyway, it's free energy. It's more output than input. And even I think a few of you have heard of Dr. Hal Puthoff, physicist. He's written quite a few papers that have been in the standard physics literature. And he went to visit John, and he and an engineer from Toronto sitting in John's apartment had to sit on the floor because it's only space there is, and he saw what John has there, and John tells me that he asked Hal, what about your 1 watt challenge? You know, I've got something here that'll win your 1 watt challenge, and actually I saw the facts that came back, just kind of blowing off and saying, well, what you've got here, you could get a lot more money out. Don't bother with my 1 watt challenge.